Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. I've got a really interesting guest for you guys today. It's my good friend and one of the top Facebook marketers in the world, Ben Simkin. Thanks for joining us today. How are you, man?
My pleasure, Brian. I've been holding out for this. I love your content. I love you spoken at some of my events in the past, 2 or 3, I think. And I always love having you come present to my mastermind group because you are a genius. I mean, I guess it's why you called it Genius of Copywriting.
Well, the genius is you today, so I appreciate that. And I know that I remember you talked about the mastermind as well. And that event that we spoke at together in Poland last year. So it's a really good group, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you and.
Not here to talk about Poland.
We can talk about Poland, but But what I'm really interested in, from a personal point of view as well, because I'm now running some traffic to an offer on Facebook, is these Facebook ads, because I know that you've been called one of the top Facebook copywriters in the world, the top Facebook marketers. You have the group as well, and this is a big core of what you teach. So, for people who don't quite know who Ben Simkin is, can you tell us a bit about yourself, how you got where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, one day I came out of my mother's womb, and I won't go that far back.
That's a bit too far back.
It's a bit too far back, too graphic for this,
for
this E-rated podcast.
Yeah.
I've got some photos though. No, I'm joking.
That's right.
So, I mean, let's just have the short history. I was in business since I was 20 years old. I started my first company, but I'm going to fast forward a little bit of that. I sold that company when about the time I got really interested in learning about marketing and how I came across this idea of doing direct response marketing and really went down that rabbit hole. I'm sure everyone on this who's listening knows what direct response is and so on. So I won't explain that. But my first client was pre-Facebook, pre-social media, where I had a client come to me. He said he wanted to do this online marketing stuff. This is back in 2005. When nobody was really doing anything with online marketing. It wasn't very, it was kind of starting out in our country.
Yeah.
And it was very new. So I was trying to figure it out as well. Since it was my first project, I kind of took him on under the guise of, or under the pretense that I was going to find an online marketing expert to help me deliver the product and service, like deliver the outcomes and everything. And I actually found someone who could help me. But about a week after, I signed the client up. He paid me the fee, and this guy that I had lined up, I called him and I said, "Hey, it's good news. I've got the client. He's on board. Let's go ahead." And the guy who was going to do the marketing turned around and said to me, "I can't help you anymore. I just got a job with the government, and I'm going to be too busy." I was like, "Oh, what do I do now?" So I was up for challenges in my 20s where, you're lively and you're up for a challenge. You can pretty much do anything. And I was like, well, okay, I'm going to figure this out myself. And so I eventually figured out, I've read a few books and things like that, but I eventually figured out that you could rent an email list, and you could email out a list of, say, 10,000 people from the ages of, you could pick your demographics. You could say, give me all the email addresses. It's permission-based email. It wasn't spam email. It was permission-based. So you could rent a list of like the ages of 35 to 55 people who live in Brisbane. So I've got about 10,000 names as a broker, or I rented it rather. And I found, I saw the advertisement that my client had run in the newspaper, in the classified section of the newspaper that he had run since 1980. And he was doing really well. He was doing about 30 million a year in sales from that advertisement. So I was like, this is interesting. So I thought, you might as well go with something that works, right? So I copied it scanned it into the computer, and basically had the exact same ad. I sent it out to the list of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And we made $3 million in sales for them from that one email.
Nice.
So
that's a hell of an email.
A light bulb moment was like, well, there's something to this marketing stuff, because I wasn't making $3 million in my other business, which was in technology. I was like, oh wow, this is big, right?
Yeah.
And so that started my journey of being really interested and curious, and anything I get into, I'm either all in or I'm nothing. So like rewinding back to when I was 13 years old, I got my first computer. I was all in. I read every textbook that I could get my hands on, and I had taught myself 5 programming languages by the time I was 16 years old. So I was like I have insatiable curiosity about things in life, and I'll just go down that rabbit hole full, head first.
Yeah. That's really that's amazing. I mean, the fact that you didn't reinvent the wheel, you just took what's already working and resulted in 7 figures. I mean, that's something that's why I wanted you on this podcast, is you're a genius for copywriting that way. You don't have to come up with your own email. You just use what was already existing and it worked.
Well, exactly. I think that, like, whether or not, I don't know I can't tell you what was going through my mind, but when you and I both know now, like, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Like, we already know, like, if something's working, use it. Don't try and be the next, like, creative superstar that, creates something new. Like, the pioneers are the ones that get arrows in their backs, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you use what works. What's proven works. And we go back now. Sometimes we go back and pull out the old Robert Collier letter book, which is my favorite copy book. And it was written in like 1902, I think it was. And so the copy in there, you can run that copy on Facebook now and it'll convert. So that's like, as a principle, like, what works is going to work. So yeah. But I guess, like, if you want to kind of segue into the Facebook thing, is like, when Facebook announced Facebook advertising in 2009, see, the problem I had with my agency from 05 to 09 was we would rent these lists that we'd run out. There's no more names. There's no more emails. We have to wait.
Yeah.
Then we go back to the start of the list, the exact same list, we rent it again, the same old people, and try and squeeze more sales out of the same list, and then wait, and then go back a month later and do the same thing. And it's like, this is like up and down. Like, you can't go any further. You can't scale anything. And that was the issue. So I knew what my constraint was number of people to get in front of. And I understood the concept of getting in front of the right target with the right message, right? The right offer and the right message. So I understood the direct response principles are the right target, the right offer, the right message, or the right copy, if you want to say copy. And I understood that from, not as much as I do now, because it's 15 years down the road, but back then I kind of understood, like, if I can get my offer in front of more people, I can make more money. And Facebook was like, we're going to be able to, we're going to show you how, we're going to be advertising that can target demographics. And there's like 70 million people on Facebook. I was like, this is like gold.
So
I jumped on it right away. Like, I was one of the very first advertisers, and it's been 10 years now, as of this podcast, doing Facebook ads. And like, what I mean by doing Facebook ads is like full-time, every day, millions and millions and millions of dollars of Facebook ads, not like a part-time side hustle. I'm like 10, all in. Like I said, I'm either all in or I'm all out. So I've been all in for 10 years, and it's just, Facebook's getting better and better all the time.
Yeah. It's so easy to use that even somebody who's coming to it brand new like me can make money in. And it's that targeting that you mentioned, that targeting interests and demographics and different people on there. That's the key to the whole thing, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk about that. I really break it down in so much detail in my new book that I just released last week.
Stack the Deck.
Stack the Deck. I waited 10 years to write this book because, you get these people who have done copywriting or marketing or Facebook for like a year or 6 months of like, hey guys, I got a new course on how to make money. It's like, sit down. Like, you've only been like, imagine a baby who's been walking for 6 months writes a book on how to walk. Like, just hold up a minute, man.
It's like some of these,
I paid my dues, you know.
Yeah, it's like some of these Facebook groups. You see somebody who posts, hey guys, I've just landed a new client on Facebook ads. Now, what should I do next?
That is, you know, I laugh, but it really is like terrible. It is terrible that I mean, you imagine if you had to go get heart surgery. So, hey guys, I landed my first heart surgery patient.
You probably don't want to know if you're going to be the first one for that doctor.
It's not good. It's not good. So I break down in my book, Stack the Deck, about how powerful it is now, 5 or 10 years down the line, of how much you can pinpoint your target market. You can pinpoint people who are going to buy your product next week, not right now. Like, you can, Facebook knows what you're going to buy next week. So I show you how to leverage that in the book and how amazing it is and how you can use it to your advantage.
So how do they do that? Because I remember at the event that we spoke at, the Toe Cracker event, you said that Facebook has 1 million points of data on each of us, which like absolutely blew my mind. You know, that 1 million points of data for or however many billions of users they've got. I mean, that's incredible. How do they do that? And is that the key to the whole thing?
It is. It factors in all of your online activity. So everything you know, where you go, you might go to buy a ticket. Once we finally get out of this thing, we can buy a ticket to go to Brazil or whatever. And so all of your online stuff, what you click on, what you like on, who you're chatting to, what you're chatting about, what you're posting about, things like that. But then it goes offline. So you go to the supermarket and you go buy XYZ products. You buy, you know, you might buy some Coca-Cola. I use an example in my book. Is like, imagine you could see somebody's shopping list every week, and every week they bought vegetables and fruit. They never bought any dairy, and they never bought any meat. What can you assume about that person?
Vegan.
Well, they're probably a vegan. That's like our simplistic way of looking at it. But if you look at a big $1 billion computer system, can figure out so much more about you and what you do, where you go, what you do, what you buy, who you hang out with. It can figure out so much more about you than you even know about yourself.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the more you know about your customers, we know this from direct marketing. You know, the more you know about your customers, the better you can tailor that message to them and your marketing campaigns.
Exactly. You can create the offer that they want. You can create the copy that resonates with them. And Facebook just goes, yep, I know who to put this through to. I know how to shoot. I know who needs to see this ad right now.
Yeah.
So, and it's even about timing. So Facebook even knows when it's the right time for you to see the ad. Like maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not in the mood to buy that pair of shoes, but it knows the next day at 4 p.m. that, yep, probably Brian's going to want to look at those shoes, pop the ad up. So even down to things like that.
It's so smart. I mean,
it's really cool.
Yeah, the amount of data that they've got on people. I can remember like 10, 20 years ago, one of the direct marketing legends, Dan Kennedy, saying in one of his events that the privacy is dead, and he was talking about, you know, you can buy lists on just about anything. This is like pre-Facebook ads. But so privacy was dead 20 years ago, and you know, now these companies have got even more data on it. But it helps them to personalize our experience and show us the kind of ads that we want, that we're interested in.
Exactly, it's a good thing, and you know, there's billions of new data being put into the system. I mean, Google and all the other ones do it as well, but I wouldn't say so much that privacy is dead, because Facebook's not giving you the data. It's just allowing you to interface and say, I want my advertisement to be seen by people who are interested in my product. So it's not like there's no privacy being breached, apart from the whole Cambridge Analytica thing was a misstep. Facebook's part. They probably should have been more diligent to say, oh, geez, people are exploiting us. And third-party companies trying to get a leg up on Facebook and you know, Facebook, the privacy is like, I can't get a list of everyone who wants to buy my book, but what I can do is I can say, say, Facebook, like, I've got a new book. Can you show it to people who might be interested in buying my book on marketing? And it's going to do that for me. So it's pretty good. You know, what I'm more worried about is the government getting hold of my data than I am a private company. Because, you know, the government has less ethics and morals and has no stakeholders and no one to answer to. A private company or a public company has a lot of people to answer to. And they have to live by rules and by the government, by their shareholders, by the public, by the clients, customers, everything. So they're more likely to do the right thing than, say, a government. But we won't go into that kind of thing today.
I agree completely. There's no issue with these companies having this kind of data on you. It makes the whole experience better.
They are going to make mistakes, and there's going to be privacy breaches and things like that. But for all the things that they intend to do, they try to balance this whole idea of giving the customer what they want, and helping, you know, creating something of value. Like any business who succeeds in capitalism is creating value in the market, and that's really what it's all about. And they're creating value not only for their users, but for the advertisers, because we spend millions of dollars on Facebook advertising. I don't really spend much on much else, because that's where the value is at. You know, we get great, amazing results from Facebook ads.
Yeah. A lot of people in the same boat. But I want to come back to the rules and regulations that you talked about specifically for. Let's dive a bit deeper into copy here. I'm talking about writing Facebook compliant copy, because there's a lot of rules around that. And it's a bit of a grey area sometimes as well, because when I've had ads that have been rejected by Facebook, whether it's by the AI or by a person, they don't really give you a lot of information. This is one of the issues that I have. You have to sort of investigate and see where you've gone wrong, because they don't really tell you. So what are some guidelines that you have around that?
Yeah, you have to be across, like, you kind of figure it. For us, we're doing ads every day, right? Me and my team are doing ads every day. We get to piece, because we're in what's called the high level program, which is a designated level of advertisers for the top 2% of advertisers, not just agencies, but all advertisers. So we get into this group where we get a lot of information behind the scenes of not only like how we can improve things to avoid, and things that are happening in the future. So we get a lot of behind the scenes stuff straight from Facebook headquarters. We get direct access to the team there. I've actually spoken to an engineer, like in person, who was one of the guys who developed the advertising platform, and he was asking me, he's like, what could I improve? And he's like, asking me, like, this is so cool. I'm hanging out with one of the engineers. So we get that, but then we also get like kind of pieced together over time, like, well, that was rejected, that, you know, we try to figure out where the kind of goalposts are. We figure that out. And so
the sheer volume that you do.
Yeah. So one of the things you think about is, like, you know, when you're doing old school copy, you go, you know, do you suffer from this problem? And do you do you want to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks or whatever it is? It's like, well, you can't call out, you can't refer to somebody like you, and things like that. So it's like, you can't say, do you want to learn how to do copy, for example? You can't say that. But what you can do is you can turn it around. So you can either write a story about yourself or about one of your clients. You could say, well, we had a client, John, he was having trouble writing copy and coming up with headlines that would convert into sales. And he had all these problems and all these things. But what he did, he went and he bought my course, and now he's getting these results. So now it's not you, it's about this client of yours, or it's about yourself, right? So you turn the story around, you turn the copy around to be more about that. And then by default, they'll resonate with that anyway. So that works. And then there's like keywords, like you don't want things like work from home, passive income, and things like that. Where there's a whole list of words that you can't get, like we even try to get from the VIP team. They won't give us a list, but we start to figure out words over time, like things like work from home. Don't say that.
You've got your own list. Yeah.
It's harder. Think about what else you could call it. So things like that.
Yeah. That's really interesting, because Is this something that's developed by Facebook over time? Like, could you say that before when the ads platform first came out?
Oh yeah, you could do it, man. The things that I was running in the first couple of years, you would be banned for these days. Not that they were dodgy, but I was just like pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
You know, I was going all out, and the images I was using and the things. I could show you some of the things we're using that you would not experience for the youth.
Are you watching something?
Does my copy, does my landing pages, my ad provide a good experience for the user of Facebook? And if the answer is no, then basically that's your guiding light to say, well, I need to fix that. You know, it's kind of like the before and after photos of people who do the weight loss thing. Before and after, it's like you're implying that if you look like the before photo, that you're fat. So if you're implying that to the user, that is not a good experience.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought I looked good, but these people are telling me what I look good. So like, that is a bad experience. You can't do that. It's like, do you want to be fit and healthy and look like this guy? If you look like this person, you're not fit and healthy. It's implying that you don't look like that, so you can't do that.
Yeah. So you can understand that it's about the experience, because if people like feel like they're not feel worse when they're on the platform, then they could desert the platform, and it's the people who are,
exactly.
That's the reason why the ads are so popular, because the people are there. So
well, look at email. Look, the email is the Wild West. Like, look how much spam you get now. Look how much just absolute push you get. And it makes it harder for legitimate email marketing and advertising.
Exactly,
It makes it a lot harder to break through, because it's just like people just don't even care about the user experience. But if we could trust one another and say, let's, but you can't. So you have to do it's a good thing for advertisers. It's a good thing for users that there are policies.
Yeah, otherwise all the cheap spammers will just come in and ruin everything. So.
Absolutely, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, but the direct marketing principles still apply. Just because you can't do all this stuff, it's not like you have to run image ads or branding like car company type of advertising. Direct marketing still works.
Yeah, direct response marketing still works. You might have to just alter and change, but you should be smart enough to figure out, well, if I can't say you, how can I still get the same message across? All the same things apply. Problem, agitate, solve, AIDA, all these things. Like, I could go on, cover the 5 exits, so on and so forth,
So that's really interesting. Just some of the things that we've, struggled with, just making sure that we can still have that strong direct response message while staying within the rules. And personally, I've had a few ads here and there rejected, but not very many. By and large, like for my own business, I've kept copy very sort of laid back and not really out there too much, and they seem to like that okay. So,
I think that's good, and I think that you want to think about like that. I forget who. I wish I remember who it was. I think it was Gary Ben Simkin. But there's a saying like, make your proof bigger than your claim. So you could, if you say, this student learned how to write copy under Brian's mentoring and is making $500,000 a year. And if you've got a testimonial for that, then make your claim smaller, but then use the testimonial, like make your proof bigger than your claim, because then not only will you get it through Facebook, but it's actually more persuasive as well. Yeah. So it gives you 2 benefits.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about strategy? I mean, if you're just trying to get the click on Facebook, can you make your message a bit tighter around just getting the click and getting their interest, get them off of Facebook, get them onto your list, or get them onto your buyers list, or get them onto your blog or whatever. And then you can be then you can be more out there with your marketing. Is that a good way to do it?
Well, what you want to do on Facebook is it's all about this. Is using the artificial intelligence, and I talk about this in my book about how you don't want to just attract people. You also want to figure out how you can repel the wrong people as well. So repel, like you don't want the wrong people clicking on your ad, because anytime someone clicks on your ad, fills out a form, goes on your webinar, buys your product, and you don't want that person, you're giving Facebook the wrong message. Facebook say, well, this person clicked on the ad and went through and scrolled through. Maybe that's what, that's what this person wants more. I can find more people exactly like that.
Yeah.
And so you don't want you get 100 people coming through and I don't want these leads. These are the wrong leads that I don't want these ones. So you want to figure out, well, if I know who I don't want to work with or who I don't want to go on my webinar or read my copy, then how do I figure out how to repel them? And there's a lot of different ways. One of those ways is called the dog whistle language, is where you're using a specific language and terminology that only your target market understands, right? One of my masterminders actually had a really good one. He was doing a product to do with people who had diabetes, right? So he spoke about a specific medication, the name of the medication that nobody outside of anyone who didn't have diabetes would even know is like this long name, the pharmacy name of the product, like blah, 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 dioxin, blah, 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 whatever it is. And so he used that in the ad so that the only people that clicked on his ad were people that had diabetes. So like that is a really good example.
Yeah, that's very smart. That's very smart because, it really dials in. It knows that it lets the audience know that that's for them. And if you're not one of those people, then you don't know what that name is, and you're not going to click on the ad.
Scroll through, and that's what you want. You want most people to scroll through past your ad.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people kind of forget. And then when you think about, if you were in direct mail and you sent it out to people, you would still probably try and figure out how you can repel specific types of people. But when it comes to Facebook advertising, because Facebook is using signals like these people have been clicking on it, I'll go get you 100,000 more of those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't want those ones. I want these ones. So
you want the right ones.
You want to use that.
And this is all about training Facebook algorithm to bring you the right people.
Yeah, it's like training one of those police dogs, at the airport, and like go and sniff out the cocaine or whatever.
Yeah.
Training. This is what I want you to find. I don't want you to find salt or sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. So that's one of the most important things. It sounds like training it to go out and find the right people. And when it does, there's literally billions of people from to choose from.
There is a lot, and there's enough people, and it's just this thing where, there is enough people in your marketplace, probably, even if you had, let's just 500 customers, or 1,000 customers, or 5,000. You don't need 10 million customers. So you think about, it's just direct response. It's like, who is my target?
Yeah.
You want to find that real segment and go after the segment.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you dive really deep into this stuff in your book, which you mentioned already, but what's the book about, and how can people get a copy of that?
Yeah, the book is all about how letting you understand the power of what's there when most people don't how the machine works. So letting you in like behind the curtains of like, showing you 500 by all means, it's not my whole 10 years, because that would be like bigger than war. A lot of information you've never heard of before in the book. It's called Stack the Deck, and you can get it by going to, it's a long URL, but it's www.themastermind. So themastermind.com.au/my-new-book.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're listening on iTunes, I'll go to geniusesofcopywriting.com. I'll put the link to that on Ben's page on that site as well. So that's definitely a way to dive deeper into the ins and outs of Facebook advertising. So it's really important. So it's themastermind.com.au/my-new-book. If you're on iTunes or what's the other one? Spotify or Stitcher or whatever, there's going to be the link.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember getting $100 million, but I am on Spotify. So, I'll chuck a link on Ben's episode so you can go through and check out the book. That's really a book that I very much endorse. Not just because they're good mates, but because Ben is one of the biggest and most successful Facebook advertisers on the planet. So I highly recommend that you guys go and grab a copy of that, and you can really dive deep into that. So I appreciate you coming on the show, Ben. Take your time out from a good day.
Thank you so much, Brian.
No problems. I think you dropped some really good information on here. So everyone can get the book. There'll be a link on the geniusesofcopywriting.com.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.